So I was watching a GM Golf video recently where Bryson Dechambeau and Kyle Berkshire got together and were kind of talking about distance, hitting balls outrageously long. Kyle was giving Bryson some advice, and it really got me thinking. Bryson works so hard in the gym and has built up so much strength. Kyle obviously does some fitness work, some mobility work, and some gym work, but he hasn't built up the same type of huge, bulked up physique that Bryson has. So, why is Kyle Berkshire longer than Bryson Dechambeau? And that is the question we are going to be answering in this video today. So we're going to take a look at both of their golf swings, talk about some of the things they both do, and see why Kyle is longer, and maybe some ways that Bryson is actually trying to get longer too. So firstly, let's dive in and let's take a look at Bryson Dechambeau's golf swing. Now, obviously Bryson's physique is so much bigger. He just has so much more strength and bulk to him. He's just a bigger, stronger guy. And this is through so many hours and hours he's spent in the gym, working so hard on, building that strength, getting that speed. And obviously, there is a difference between them. Kyle Berkshire is a world long drive professional. His job is to hit the ball a long way. Bryson Dechambeau is a PGA Tour pro. His job is to get the ball in the hole in the least amount of shots possible. So let's take a look at Bryson's golf swing and talk about, how he's swinging the club basically, and some of the differences between him and Kyle. So here we have a really good down the line slow motion look at Bryson's swing. Now let's just play it through once and just admire how good it is basically. Absolutely bombed high down the middle. Let's take it back. And the first thing I want you to pay attention to, and this is something I've never actually heard talked about in Bryson's swing, is this little kind of lift off he does at the very start of his swing. Watch this. It's mostly with the lower body. It's getting a huge turn. He actually starts the swing. The first thing to move is actually the lower body. This is actually really interesting and something that is very, very different to most PGA Tour players. But he does that so that he can take this huge, wide takeaway, huge turn in his shoulder and hips, just massive lag and hinge as he starts to swing down and into the ball, and just absolutely destroys it. Now there's some very fundamental differences between this and Kyle Berkshire's golf swing. Let's take one more look at it and then we'll talk about the differences. So let's take the club back to a parallel with the ground position in the takeaway. Nothing in the arms or wrists has started to move yet. The wrists don't have any hinge in them. The right elbow is still, the right arm is pretty much straight. He's still in the same arm structure as when he was set up to the golf ball. All he's done is had this huge turn with the body to take the club away. But this is going to change now as he starts to slowly wind to the top. Right elbow folds, huge turn, but we have to pause it here because after this, even though the club is going further back, he's actually going to already start to unwind the lower body, and this is something which we are going to talk about. Bryson might be slightly working on, that Kyle gave him a tip on how he can gain a bit more distance. So he starts to unwind the lower body as the club's still at the top, getting a huge amount of separation between lower and upper bodies. He starts to swing down, club shallowing, dropping, right elbow beautifully tucked in as we pause it at impact. just a beautiful impact position. He has so much rotation. The main thing I love to look at this and just admire is his spine angle is just really good. His posture is still really good, even though he's swinging out of his shoes. Everything, the technique is good, and that's why Bryson, despite being a very long driver of the golf ball, it's why he is still so accurate as he swings through to this slightly unorthodox finish. Now, let's take a look at Kyle Berkshire's golf swing. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, we don't often talk about long drivers of the ball and their golf swings, so it's pretty unique to really take a look at this, and this is a really good slow motion look at Kyle's swing. Now, let's just play it through once or twice and have a look at it. It's super unorthodox. There's a lot to really draw your attention to here. There's probably some things which you've probably seen in your friends' golf swings, and you know they're obviously not nearly as good, but there's a lot of things you haven't seen in them as well. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is there's a lot of up and down movement in Kyle's swing. Now, Kyle's swing is designed to hit the ball as far as possible. He's a world long drive professional. That's kind of more or less all that matters, as long as you can keep it in the grid, which is pretty wide. But in order to generate that power, Kyle really has to use the ground. He uses the force of the ground so well, and if you've ever watched a World Long Drive Championship and watched him hit it, he actually does this rocking motion back and forwards to kind of, I guess, just, well, obviously to generate more power, but help him use the ground even more effectively. So as he starts to take the club away, we're going to see this like lift off motion, like he's jumping up, and you can see that left heel, that coming right up off the ground, and he's pretty extended now in this position with his hips. Now, as he starts to get to the top, obviously, very, very, very closed club face. Very strong left-hand grip. We can see that left wrist is actually kind of cupped, so would be an open club face if it was a neutral grip. But his face is super, super strong, pointing up towards the sky. And as he gets to the top, left heel still in the air. Now slowly swinging down. Huge long backswing, by the way. Obviously, he has to get a huge turn, and those shoulders are super, super turned. But he's going to start to flex more in the hips and the legs, drop down, squat into the ground, and as he comes through, then explode back up and off of it. If we pause at impact, huge amounts of rotation. He's already extending the hips and back. His shoulders and hips are so turned through to the target, and he's going to then huge big release of the club as he comes through, and that left heel dragging back, and just it's a pretty unique finish position. So let's take it back, let's have a look one more time, and then we're going to talk about some of the differences and some of the things Kyle has given Bryson to give him more distance, and Bryson has given Kyle to be more accurate, basically. So, let's play it again, slowly through. Really uses the ground, huge shoulder turn, huge amounts of wrist hinge. The club shaft is nearly touching his shoulder as he starts to swing down, keeping that lag, really rotating hard through, and obviously club coming from the inside so he can hit those huge, big, high, long draws. Okay, now let's put these swings back to back and just talk about some of the differences. First difference is in the grip. Bryson has a weak grip with his left hand, and also bear in mind Bryson uses extremely thick, chunky grips. So Bryson has a very weak grip, which keeps the club kind of nice and open throughout the swing, and Kyle has a very, very strong grip. The other thing I want to bear in mind is that Kyle has a huge release after impact and after the ball. Bryson doesn't have such a big release. He kind of, through impact and even after, he never really lets the toe roll over. He likes to keep the face pretty square with his body. That's how he drives it so accurately. It might lose him a few yards, but it's really worth it because he needs to be hitting fairways. The next thing, one of the main differences for me with these two swings is Bryson pretty much maintains his height very well throughout his golf swing. He maintains his spine angle and maintains his posture. This is pretty different to Kyle. Now, he gets himself in very powerful positions, but he gets also in not quite as orthodox positions, I guess, and you know, he's really trying to use that ground as much as possible to generate as much power as possible. So let's talk about some of the things, the differences, why these things are happening, and what each of them have been talking to each other about. So, why these? Well, obviously, Bryson and Kyle have developed power in two very different ways. Bryson has gone to the gym and developed strength and used that strength to develop speed. He's also tried to increase mobility and everything else, which is going to add to that. Kyle, it seems, has kind of generated this power and speed through practice and through technique as well. Bryson's technique is really designed to, yes, create power, but mainly to create consistency. Kyle's technique is 100% dedicated to creating power. So if you want to hit it as far as physically possible and you don't care about where the ball's going, Kyle's is the swing to look at. There's a lot to learn there. But if you want to, you know, maybe develop some accuracy with that power, maybe Bryson's is more the way to go. For me, everyone says Bryson will get injured swinging this fast, and he might do. He really might. But it would seem to me that Kyle would be more likely to get injured based on some of the positions that his body gets into. Not to say they're bad positions, but they put a lot of strain on areas of his body, and I'm sure he'll be doing a lot of work to allow his body to cope with that strain. It was really interesting seeing Bryson Dechambeau and Kyle Berkshire talking and comparing notes about their golf swings and what things they've worked on, basically sharing those with each other. One of the things Kyle gave Bryson to work on to be able to create more power is to have slightly more of a pause and load at the top of the backswing. Now, we saw in the Bryson Dechambeau swing video that he basically starts rotating before the clubs actually got to the top of the swing. This is very different to Kyle. He is very much, has a huge kind of loading motion at the top of the swing. The club gets to the top before he starts to rotate down. But then he rotates down very hard. And this loading would kind of allow Bryson's muscles and body to stretch and coil and create a bit more resistance, that little bit longer, which is then going to allow him to really swing down a bit harder. It will be really interesting to see if Bryson incorporates this into his swing, how he finds it. Bryson seems to be after distance and, you know, willing to do anything to get it. So I would probably think this is something he's bearing in mind to work on that little bit more. And some of the things that Bryson gave Kyle to generate more accuracy was mostly to do with the control of the left arm, where the back of the left arm and elbow is pointing at impact. And, you know, this is something Bryson does very, very well. It's one of his kind of main secrets to creating consistency in his swing. And it's not even that much of a secret because he has talked about it quite a lot. So guys, what do you think? Whose swing would you copy? Whose, you know, do you like more? Which approach do you like more? I hope you guys have liked this video. It's been quite fun making it, taking a look at these two swings. Pretty interesting. Lots more stuff like this to come. Comment your thoughts down below. Give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, guys, grip it and rip it.